Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep / batch cooking video. So in this meal prep, there is only one brand new recipe that is not going to disappoint you. It is so good. And there are several amazing recipes in this video, so definitely stick around to the end. It is not going to disappoint you. All of the recipes will be in the description box. You can just go down there, click the link. You'll find all of the ingredients and the measurements that you are going to need to make these recipes. But let's get into the kitchen and let's get started. All right, like always, we're going to start out with breakfast. So that is some Tarantino sausage that I get at Costco. I already cooked it in my air fryer. I didn't show that part because I cook that all the time in my air fryer on my meal preps, but we are going to add eggs, some salt, some pepper. We're keeping it simple for breakfast. Oscar just likes it simple, and when I make breakfast foods in my meal preps, it's usually for him. That was a tablespoon of Kerrygold grass-fed butter, and I just threw the sausage in that pan, and I'm going to saute that sausage up in that butter and kind of get the sausage a little bit crisp. It is so good that way. And then I added a dozen eggs to that, and then you can add heavy whipping cream or something in there with the eggs and kind of whip it up before you put the eggs in there. It'll make them a little bit fluffier, but honestly it is just fine without it as well. And then I went ahead and added the seasonings. So again, the only seasonings I'm adding is some pepper and salt. So I'm just keeping it simple. You could doctor these up any way that you want, but I just kept it simple. And then you could even add cheese to that. Oscar didn't want cheese, so I just left it plain, but that is how it looked when it was done. This is a powerhouse of protein, super healthy, and ridiculously delicious for a breakfast on the go. I just separate that into separate containers. Oscar can just grab them in the morning and go. Next up, I wanted to make some vegetables for the week, so I just took an entire cabbage. That was a pretty large one as well. Bacon, onion, garlic, and then I'm going to be using that Redmond's real salt. That is the organic garlic flavor. But first up, I'm just going to take the bacon, and I take my kitchen scissors and I just cut the bacon into the pan. That's about 6 pieces of bacon. That is the simplest way in my personal opinion. And then once the bacon is done cooking, I like to take the bacon out, put it on a napkin, and then that is way too much bacon grease to just throw the cabbage in there. I've done that before and it was just way too much. But I dump the bacon grease into that is just a mug, a coffee mug, and then I put 2 tablespoons of the bacon grease back into the pan. And then I do cut up that entire onion and a little bit of garlic, and I saute that garlic and onion up in the bacon grease. Bacon grease is so good to cook with, y'all. When you make bacon, don't throw that stuff away. That is like gold on keto. So after I saute that up just slightly, I do get it just a little bit translucent. It doesn't have to be completely done. Then I start adding in the cabbage. And like I said, that was a pretty large cabbage. So I made sure I had a really deep dish. Then I just put the lid on there, let that cook just a little bit. Then I put the bacon back in there. The bacon gives the cabbage such good flavor, and I'm going to use that garlic pepper in the cabbage dish as well. It was so delicious. I just gave that a quick stir, and then as you see, I do add a little bit more seasonings. And once it is done, I do let it cook with the lid on for a little while, but once it is done, that's what it looks like. And I like to get the cabbage to where it's still just got like a slight bit of a crunch. Oh my goodness, it's delicious. Next up, I am going to be making a chicken dish. So that is about 6 chicken thighs, I believe. That was an entire block of cream cheese, and then I added some cheese in as well. You can use whatever flavored cheese you want, but I added in a little bit of salt, some garlic powder, and then I just gave that a good mix. Once that was all mixed together, then I started spreading it all over the chicken. And This is really good, you guys. It goes a little bit, goes a long way, to be honest with you, because it's so full of fat because of the cheese. But once I spread all that all over the chicken, I went ahead and added some jalapeno slices. I just used the jar and I put that all over the top, and it was kind of like a jalapeno popper dish. It was really good. And then I covered mine with foil. I baked it at 350 degrees and it took around 35 minutes for it to be done, but that is what it looked like when it came out. As you can see, the jalapenos kind of slid all over the place, but it doesn't matter because it was still yummy. Next chicken dish, so I just used the rest of the chicken thighs because that came in a pretty large pack. I think that was around 5 chicken thighs right there. I'm keeping it simple. I just took a couple of lemons and I doused them with some lemon juice, and then I went in with some seasonings. So I just used some salt and pepper. That is it. Kept it simple. And to be honest with you, my family really enjoys these super simple dishes like this. But like the last one, I went ahead and covered it with foil, baked it at 350 degrees for around 30 minutes. That's how they came out. So moist, so delicious, and so flavorful. It's crazy how something so simple is so flavorful. Next up, we are making some casserole. So this is a spaghetti squash. I just cut the ends off and then I cut it down the middle. And then I just scraped out all of the seeds, and it's easier to cut the ends off to slice it down the middle, in my opinion. Then I just layered it in the Instant Pot. I probably should have put them face down because they did hold a lot of condensation in the middle of them, and I think that made them cook a little bit too long because usually 7 minutes does fine, but I usually put them the other way. I don't know why I did it that way this time, but I did. That is all the ingredients I am using. It looks like a lot, but I'm telling you, it's totally worth it. This was delicious. So I am using boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can use whatever chicken you want. You could use probably any kind of meat you want, but I'm just cutting up the vegetables. So I'm using a couple of green peppers. I am going to be using a poblano pepper, and then I'm going to be using an onion. And I took out an entire onion, but I changed my mind and I only used a half. And then that was the spaghetti squash. When it came out, you just kind of fork out the spaghetti squash right out of the skin. And then I did saute up the vegetables. So that was the green onions, the poblano pepper, and the onions. And I sauteed that up in a little bit of grass-fed butter. I added some garlic to that. And then as you saw, I put my Instant Pot on saute because we are going to saute up those chicken thighs right there in the Instant Pot. And then once the vegetables start to soften up, I did go ahead and add 1/3 cup chicken bone broth, and then also 1 can of Rotel. And then as you can see, the spaghetti squash does scrape right out of there. I was doing it with one hand, so I was having a little difficulty. But that's what it looks like when it comes out. It's so, so good. If you guys don't eat spaghetti squash, you really should, because it is delicious. And then I just let all those vegetables cook together. I went ahead and added 1 entire cup of heavy whipping cream. And then I just let that cook together and let it thicken a little bit. And then once that is finished, I went ahead and added it to a casserole dish. I did spray it rather well. And then I put in there 5 ounces of cream cheese. I let that melt together, and then we're going to go in with all of those seasonings that I showed you guys. I will have the exact measurements and all the ingredients in the description box below, so don't think that you need to remember all this. The description box will have everything you need to recreate this recipe, and you're going to want to recreate this recipe. Best casserole I've ever made, hands down. Once I got all the seasonings in there, I did go ahead and add the spaghetti squash in there as well. And I just mixed everything right there in that casserole dish. Made my life easy peasy. Once I added the spaghetti squash, I went ahead and added the chicken as well. Again, we are just going to stir all that in. Once all that's stirred in, I did add a little bit of cheese into the actual casserole dish itself. That was probably like around a cup. And then once that was stirred in, I went ahead and added some cheese to the very top of it. Then we baked that casserole at 350 degrees. And it took around 25 minutes to get it to that nice, beautiful golden brown. You guys are going to want to recreate this. Again, the best casserole I have ever tasted. It served about 8 people. So it was amazing. You guys, seriously, if you don't try anything else in this meal prep, try this. You are not going to be disappointed, and even your pickiest of eaters are probably going to love this. Hands down, the best. Last, but definitely not least, we were craving pizza. We love pizza in this house, and we haven't had it in a while, so it was due. Again, this recipe will be in the description box below with a link. Click on it and you can recreate this amazing recipe as well. So we are going to start out with 3.5 cups of mozzarella cheese and 1.5 cups of almond flour. I also go ahead and throw in my seasonings. So I'm going to be putting in there some salt, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. Then we are also going to go in with 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I stir all that up and I microwave all that in the microwave in 30-second intervals until it is completely melted, just like that. I know they recommend melting the cheese by itself first. I don't recommend that. I think it's easier to melt everything together. It's so much easier to mix together. I do go ahead and add in an egg after that is all finished. And then I basically just form it into a ball, and this is going to make 4 servings. So I like to make mine into personalized pizzas. You can obviously make 1 large pizza if you want to. I don't like to do that because I like to have mine basically portioned out. So again, I'm doing 4 personal servings, so it does make 4 servings. You're just going to flatten it out into a pizza crust, and then I like to really get the pizza crust fairly thin, and then I like to go and I take the edges and I kind of make the edges, a little bit higher, like a rising crust, I guess. But this pizza crust, in my personal opinion, is the best one that I have came across. I poke holes in the bottom of the pizza crust before I bake it. I just think that it bakes a little easier, so I bake at 400 degrees for around, 10 minutes or so until the crust is slightly browned on the bottom, just like that. And then I add all my toppings. So we like light sauce. I'm just using that Mazzetta's marinara. Although thanks to a viewer friend, I will start to use that Lucini because it has better ingredients, better macros. But obviously add whatever you want to your pizza. We are pepperoni pizza lovers, so add whatever toppings you want. Mushrooms would be great, green chilies, onions, so good, y'all. Bake it again at that 400 degrees until it's nice, bubbly, brown, delicious. Y'all, look at that. Doesn't that make your mouth just water? Who doesn't love a good pizza? This girl does. You can even freeze these and have pizzas for whenever the heck you want a pizza. All right, so that is going to conclude this week's meal prep. This meal prep was on fire, in my opinion, because every single one of these recipes are delicious. Your family's going to love them, your entire family, and they are not going to disappoint you. They're super simple, easy to make, and like I said, they're delicious. If you guys make any of these, I will leave my Instagram handle in the description box below. Tag me on Instagram. Let me know if you guys liked them, or let me know what you guys are making on your meal preps. And I hope you guys have a fabulous week. And I think that's all I have for you guys. Like always, I'm praying for you, your family, and your country. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. And don't forget to go out there and make today even better than yesterday. And I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye. On my own, but I don't know why you hit the road.
But you don't realize I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when